Welcome to Power Driven Diesel. Today, we're talking about blowing up engines, specifically solid iron blocks.
Okay, so this happened August 4th at the Weekend on the Edge event in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's the last diesel event in Salt Lake City because they're closing the track down this year. I really wanted to go to this event because it's the closest track to us. It's the only track in Utah. And I really wanted to go race it before it's gone forever. Sad to see another track die. So the problem is when you race something of this caliber, if it's not perfect and it's not tested, you shouldn't take it to the track. Lesson learned. What happened was we had a contest of a kid come from North Carolina. We wanted to build his truck up, and then we wanted to take him racing in his newly hot-rodded truck, and we thought we'd go racing too. And so, as always happens when you're making more power, things are not perfect. We had two engines to build. My engine and the junker drag truck both got new engines, or rebuilt engines. They weren't new, they were rebuilt. Get this in the truck, got it started, and that's pretty much as far as we were able to get before we went to the track, because we had to get this kid's truck from North Carolina who was not the truck wasn't cooperating, and we had to get it making the power we wanted. And we were pretty much there till 1 or 2 in the morning working on his truck the night before the race. We get to the race, we warm our engines up, both Will and I, we're both doing our first engine head stud retorque at the track. That's pretty much, you should know at this point, bad. Go put the truck on the trailer. So we're not ready, but it's so fun. You want to go race. I mean, it's literally the funnest thing we do. If you're at a racetrack and there's a race going and you have the possibility to race, you're pretty much going to race. So probably lesson 2, if you're not ready, be willing to pull the plug. So we do the retorque, I start the engine up, and I test the shutdown. Every run before I go, I test the shutoff, the butterfly shutoff.
Emergency shutoff,
Emergency
the big
shutoff.
red button.
I have a big red button that I have that I purposely did it so I could slam it. When I slam it, it shuts the valve. And when I slam it, it was Lonan who was there. I said, Lonan, check the shutoff. I hit it. It shuts. He resets it, and away I go. So literally, before I go to the track, I test it every single time. And we did this time as well. Usually have GoPros running and all kind of stuff going, but this was literally the first pass of the day. This was a qualifying run. I had the tune set up for a slow advance on the fuel increase.
Pretty mild, start around 1,200 horse and ramp up to maybe 1,800 by the end of the quarter mile.
But in the eighth mile.
In the eighth mile, yeah, not quarter.
And so as they're saying, Pro Street, you're late, get to the lane. So I'm just hurrying. I'm hurrying because my qualifying pass time's about out. They're going to go to the next class after me. And so I want to go. So I just jump the truck, test the shutoff valve. It works. Start it. Up to the line I go. Had no problems getting in the line. Go it up, get to the line. Thing spools up just fine. I was a long time to the light because it's a qualifying pass. So I just bumped right into the lights, got both staging lights lit, went green. And then I started staging up. So I got a terrible light, but it was on purpose. I just wanted to get a good pass. I wanted to see how much power the track would hold, how hard I could launch. And you get that data, and then you go back to pits, and you modify to, if you're too powerful, you back it off. Not enough power, you bring it on. So that was my plan. I launched, and it launched really nice. Launched straight, very little wheel spin. It was good. And I was going, and I'm like, this is a good run. And the power came on, and I'm like, I need to bring the power on a lot faster. I could tell from the run that this is a good run, but we should be going much, much faster by now. I should bring the power in a whole second ago, so I need to bring the power in fast. And so I'm going good. So I go down, I go to the 8th mile, and the 8th mile is kind of fun because you can see the scoreboard. Because you're so far away from the scoreboard, you can see your time right there. I don't have to wait for a slip because I can see it on the board. I saw I went at 6:16. I'm like, oh, cool, that's a good first pass. That's a good pass. And when we let the gas, it just kept going. And that 6:16 was a brief second. Then I was done with that, thinking a good pass to, oh crap, we're still going. And so right away I hit the
And at this point, the fuel was then ramping in heavily.
Yes, now I'm at max power and going fast. So I'm accelerating it's quicker now than I was the whole entire race. I'm beyond the finish line, accelerating harder than I was the whole time before this, because the fuel just had ramped up now to peak to where
we're looking at the data logger. You were 60 pounds of boost when you crossed the 8th mile, and you were 158 pounds of boost when you crossed the quarter mile.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine.
So
what was the RPM when you can kind of see the RPM in the data logger where I'm going toward when I finally hit neutral? What was the RPM?
It looks like you crossed the 8th mile at 5,100, 5,000 roughly, and you crossed the quarter when you went to neutral at about 6,600 RPM, still in third gear.
That calculates out to about, what, 150-ish miles an hour?
Yeah, 150, 151. So that's a pretty good, 36 mile an hour back half.
What's wrong with that?
30, 34 or whatever mile.
While you're trying to shut down.
While you're trying to shut down, that's not bad,
And so we're trying to shut the thing off, and so the emergency didn't work. The fuel shut off didn't work, which it would not work under a hung rack situation. And so I hit it to neutral. And a lot of people asked me if I was really scared, and it's a scary situation, but I wasn't scared because you're not scared when what you expect to happen happens. I knew when I hit it to neutral, it's going to rev up and it's going to, blow up. Now I didn't realize it's going to blow up the level it did, so I guess you could say that was weird. But I knew engine failure was going to happen, and so I put it in neutral, and within a half second, sure enough, up to 8200 RPM, it blew up. When the engine finally did let go, there was a big ball of fire. It's not the first time this truck's been on fire, but this is the best one yet. This is my record. And so literally the whole entire truck was in a ball of fire for a second. We have some things in the back that were singed, the very, very back of the truck.
Yeah, the little parachute removed before flight ribbons. Yeah, it burned them all the way off.
Yeah, so...
And those should have been out for the run. He couldn't use the parachutes, but once again, too much of a rush. Hadn't started line.
Should not be.
One of the guys totally forgot to pull those out. So Todd didn't have parachutes if he wanted them.
Yeah.
Luckily, he didn't use them because they would have got burned up, and so they didn't get burned. Just the outer Stroud shells. They're just a little singed, little heat tempered.
So, it goes back to don't rush things. If it's not ready, it's not ready. But big ball of fire. I saw it. Now, luckily, I'm in a fire suit. You have, be grateful for safety regulations. A lot of people complain about them because you have to buy stuff that's not to go fast. It's to keep your butt alive. And so I had a full, shoes, gloves, neck, helmet, everything. I mean, I'm in a fire suit. So I didn't really feel the heat. I mean, I noticed it probably maybe here because you have a little air gap here or something. I mean, there was a little heat, but it wasn't bad. But the cab is totally... There's no open holes to the engine compartment.
That's all, per the rules. All the holes are patched
and everything. And we
had an OEM firewall, which is lucky. That's because that firewall would have come back 3 inches, 2.5 inches. I mean, that firewall is bent back and the windshield's all curled up. I mean, good thing you had a factory firewall.
Yes, because I didn't have any issues there. So all that was good. And so I see the fire was so quick. I mean, you just boof, and then I see the hood, and then I'm just trying to stay straight, and I hit the wall. So it all happened so quick, but that's a big ball of flames. That's my record, and I hope not to beat it. And then I'm just literally get the truck stopped, get out, and so I get on the brakes, and I'm just skidding down the track. And when it comes
and you can't see because the hood's all blown up in your face. So how are you even navigating?
I can feel it pulling the right because the right front tire had a explode, whatever. Something went into it. It's flat
when
tire.
It blew up, flat tire.
So I'm pulling to the left, and I'm watching the white line out the window, out the driver's window. I can see the line between the two lanes. I'm just watching that on the brakes, skidding. Comes to a stop, and I unbuckle my seatbelt, and I get out of the car, just like I do every other time. So it wasn't exactly scary because it was expected. I'm sure if I had been going and it just happened unexpectedly, that really scared the crap out of me. I mean, that would be terrifying. But when you know it's coming, what happens is what you expected. It's not as scary as if it happens unexpectedly. I couldn't even see because the hood had no view.
Well, and you have a freaking no.
Yeah, so I'm skidding. I can now I'm skidding, but I'm just like watching the white line out the side window.
I think it's time for a rail because this truck is invisible.
So bad. So yeah, the shutoff valve didn't work. Why did it not work? I don't know. The button, we don't know if it's affecting the button because the button was pushed, the valve was not closed. Was it? What we're going to change as a result of this is that valve is electronically actuated. It's an electronic button that has a little solenoid and pulls it back. So we're going to lose all electronic, anything with that valve, and it's going to be operated by a cable. So if I physically move it, it's going to drop.
Just going to be like a mechanical mafia device. It's going to be all mechanical.
We're getting rid of it.
Because that's the best, wiring.
The thing that failed was electronic, true.
I know, it's got a curse, we got to stay mechanical.
It's got to go mechanical. So that's what happened. That's how the thing happened. So now we have I'm going down the thing, and that hood just blows up. And this thing, that hood is all of a sudden it's so high, I literally have no vision.
Now you're 6'9" and you couldn't see over the hood. Nope. You know that's a big blow up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So
you know my take on it?
Yes.
I'm back in the pits. I see Todd go streaking by. I see him go past the 8th mile, and I was like, he must not know it's only an 8th mile race, and he's booking. And then all of a sudden, I hear the announcer say he's on fire, and I yell to the guys, "Todd's on fire! Get in the truck! We gotta go save him!" You know? And we go down there, and I see the hood, and I'm like, "Did he hit the wall? How did the hood get that messed up?" And then I see the front tire, and I was like, "Did a turbo blow up and pop the tire? That's weird." And then I get looking, and I see the camshaft, this cam hanging out like that, and I was like, That's not where it should belong. That's when I figured
something's out of place.
Something happened bad, and and then the windshield, and it was quite obvious what happened after you looked a little bit.
What was so perfect is my wife was coming to watch, and she literally pulled through the gate, and my boy said, "That's Dad, that's Dad." So she throws it in park, and she runs out to the starting line just in time to see me leave. That's great. So she shows up down the track.
I literally pulled up to the ticket stand and they goes, "There's Dad's truck!" So I jumped out and watched you, and they're like, 16. I was like, "What?" And then they're like, "See the medics go down. We've got a fire!" I'm like, "Ooh," and I can't see anything because I'm right at the starting line but behind the fence. And they're like, "Got him down there. We're trying to put out that fire. Got a lot of debris at the end of the track."
That's exactly what you want to have happen. Your wife watch you blow up. You know, that's the... Because then you gotta describe. No, it's perfectly safe.
Racing's safe, honey. There was no life risk here.
Everything's good. Don't worry about it. We'll be fine. So that was awesome.
So let's talk about what we found in the engine. We tore it
Yes.
down. What's
we got
unique
it here?
here?
We got it out of the truck, and we start pulling parts, trying to figure out what caused the failure. What do we think was the culprit? What's the reason this thing? Besides the fact that we know the data log shows over 8,200 RPM. That's the real problem. But because of that speed, what failed?
And what we found is 2 rods got ejected, and what we find is a tensile failure. We described it looks like taffy almost, where the bolt has stretched and yielded.
Why did it stretch? Well, I mean, we did some calculations. Tell me, why did this bolt stretch like taffy? You pulled it apart like a piece of taffy. What happened?
So we ran the weight of the piston assembly, and at that RPM, the throw-off force, 33,000 pounds. A 7/16 rod bolt of any alloy, I can't come up with a yield point any higher than 30,000 pounds. So in my mind,
half inch or 7/16?
7/16. So a 7/16 rod bolt, you hit 30,000. It doesn't matter what it's made out of. That has exceeded the cross-sectional area. No material known to man can hold that heavy of a piston at 8,200 RPM.
So there you go. So 8,200 RPM. So what? So now we have rods, bolts letting go. Pistons are now flying on their own. So then what happened?
So then it looks like the number 3 and 4, because they were ejected, they came out the driver's side of the block and hit the cam.
Look at this guy.
And when they hit this cam, which is now S-shaped, it's kind of hard to see in the video, but it's got a nice S-shape to it. It is intact, though. It didn't break. This Hamilton cam. And this, we believe, fractured the side of the block as it got hit by those rods. Pushed it out a little bit. And then once the block had a few cracks, the other cylinders were still kind of halfway in the middle of a firing cycle. What happens then?
Pressure.
Pressure. Power. Blows the lid right off the whole block.
Yeah. And that's what happened. Separation.
So right at the cam, where it lines up with the mains, it blew the block in half. So the biggest half is right here. Now the bottom end is still spinning and churning away with all that RPM and momentum. So it ended up in, 8 pieces after we took all the girdle and everything else? Yeah. So the block's in 9 total pieces, an upper half and 8 lower pieces.
The solid steel, the solid iron top, very strong.
Yeah, Hamilton built a good upper end here, no problems at all. Cylinder walls aren't cracked or anything. It held
They
it fine.
can hold a ton of pressure. Very cool. Bottom end, got to make room for a crank and a cam. It's got to fit in there. Can't have a solid bottom
Can't
end.
have a solid bottom end.
Doesn't work. It doesn't work.
So as far as what's good, though, all the valve trains survived.
Yes. How many push rods did survive?
All except for one has a little bend. So we have 11 good usable push rods. In fact, we'll probably put them in the next engine. Why? We're not going to buy new push rods for no reason, right?
No.
We're just going to buy maybe one extra, so we have a spare in case this happens again. It's nice to have one spare.
Yeah. So the push rods are awesome. On this we had a girdle.
That little Gorilla girdle.
Mm-hmm.
It held up fine. I mean, a rod cap and fragment went through it, so it has a big bow in the middle. But actually, the girdle was part of what was holding the whole bottom. Between the girdle and the oil pan, that's what held all 8 pieces together until we pulled them out. Cranks messed up, all the rods, all the pistons. 2 turbos got blown up.
A lot of damage in that 6-second pass. Drag racing's tough. We spent hours and hours and hours getting this thing together, and just didn't have quite enough hours before the event happened. 6 seconds later, it's out of commission. So what's the plan going forward? We have a lot of damage. The hood, fenders, front end smoked. When that
Windshield's gone.
Windshield's gone. When this thing knocked the hood up to the top of the world, it pulled the hinge supports in.
Off the cab.
Off the cab. So those are in. So those hood's out. Hinge supports are out. But this is the great thing about racing, about going fast. Every explosion, every failure is an opportunity to make it better. I tell people a lot. I say it sucks when you have a failure. It sucks when you blow a head gasket. It sucks when you lose a motor. But honestly, it's a blessing in disguise, because that's a time you can make it. You fix it or make it better. You have all these plans in your head, what you want to do, but you don't do them because the truck works. It's a lot of work and a lot of time. If you want to change things, really it works good enough now, and I'll do that later. So when you do something like this, it blows up. You can really fix it. The engine we had, is a pretty good engine. Minus can't handle 8,200 RPM, but nothing can. So engine we're going to put back pretty similar to what we did before. But we've been wanting to make some changes to the truck. We wanted to lighten it up. We want to do a few things, and we haven't, because the truck works, and it's time, and we don't have a lot of time. Now we're going to have to make time to make it work. So we have a whole front clip, fiberglass front clip. The whole entire hood, fenders, bumper, everything weighs as much as one fender. So there's some weight loss. So we're actually going to put this truck back together. We're going to use a Lexan
windshield,
windows. We're going to get rid of all the glass. We're gonna go on a diet. We're going to rip off the stuff that's heavy, try to make it light. We're pretty heavy to compete at UCC versus the faster guys. There are other guys who are as heavy as us. We're the heaviest people there, but the fastest people are lighter than us. So we're going to go on a diet and hopefully pick up some speed there.
So what we're right about 6,100.
6,100.
Really close, plus or minus 20 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we can get down in the mid 5s. The fast guys are down 4,500 pounds. So we've got a lot of weight. I don't know if we'll get that light with what we're doing.
Yeah, this truck, when I bought this truck, I bought this years ago to be a Super Street contender in NHRDA. Super Street minimum is 6,000 pounds. So for a Super Street truck, this thing's cherry. We got it there. We're there. But these trucks are higher than Super Street trucks in the UCC. So if I was buying a truck now, I wouldn't buy a quad cab. I bought a quad cab because I wanted to drive it on the street. Super Street trucks are still street trucks. They can be driven on the street. Well, that's kind of gone out the back door now. So this is now a race vehicle. So we're going to make it lighter. It's not going to be Super Street compliant in UCC. We may add weight back for racing in the season. But we're going to try to lose some weight.
So what's our plan on the rebuild?
The rebuild, I'm thrilled with the block. This block's failure is not this block's fault. Nothing survives what I put it through. Nothing survives throwing pistons in the middle of an engine. So I'm really happy with the power capacity of this block. Bang for the buck, you cannot touch this. This thing holds the power way better for way less money than anything out there.
4,500. Billet blocks are more than triple, quadruple the cost. So
yeah, really glad to have this block at the price point it is. So I'm going to reuse this block. I'm not going billet. I'm going to use a cast iron solid block. I've been real happy with it. I really like everything. We're going to upgrade the rod bolts. We're going to probably do a little bit beefier bolt or a higher alloy, but that still wouldn't have survived this, so that's not like really fixing the problem. But we're going to try to upgrade the rods maybe a little bit. Pistons are as good as they get. Tappets can't. Really, we're going to put about the same engine back together. I've been really happy with the performance of it. Just need to make sure our ability to turn it off is better.
So really the upgrades are on the shutdown abilities to turn off the power.
Turn it off. A lot of people thought this truck was gone. We thought it was gone. When I first bought it or did that wreck, I thought this thing's gone. how do you fix this? But we got it back to the shop, got it to the parts, started looking at it. It's like, you know, we're going to rebuild it.
It's not that bad.
It's going back to UCC. It's going to be racing again.
It's going to be the only well, I don't know if the only second gen at UCC, but it's going to look very similar to how it was. Maybe a little bit lighter and
A little bit faster.
a little bit faster.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up the video on this blown up engine.
We got 300,000 miles worth of use out of this.
Oh, yeah. 300,000 microseconds. That's a race engine. You know, I don't build this for 300,000 miles. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful to you. I hope you learned a little bit about failure analysis, and look forward to seeing the rebuild. Thank you for your support. We've had a lot of positive comments, a lot of people throwing their support behind us to help us with this, and we really appreciate that. So leave a comment. We want to talk with you. You know, subscribe to the channel, like this, help us get this out so more people can see the diesel obsession. We want to get this out there as much as we can. Thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.